It's time now to get you all the business news. It's over to Sakshi, who's going to tell us about Indian startups.
That's right. So investments in Indian startups have soared, with some homegrown startups now attaining the much sought after unicorn status. We have with us the co-founders of two of these. We have Mr. Vidrut Sheth from Gupshup, who is the co-founder and CEO of Gupshup. And we have Mr. Vidit Atre, who is the co-founder and CEO of Meesho. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations, both of you, for joining us and taking out that time. Of course, I'd like to begin by asking Mr. Vidrut Sheth your first reactions on that fresh fundraising and that fresh round of fundraising you just got.
Well, firstly, thanks for having me here. Yes, we are very excited about this funding round. It helps us accelerate our vision. So yes, there's a little bit of excitement, but there's also a sense of huge obligation because there are raised expectations. You know, we have to prepare to climb the next hill from here on out. So we are focused on achieving the next set of goals here.
All right. And Mr. Vidit Atre, what about you? Your first thoughts on that fresh round of investment?
Hey, thank you so much, first of all, for having us here. It's a big milestone for us internally, and everyone, founders, stakeholders, our employees, everyone is very happy about this, because it's a very strong vote of confidence and validation about everything that we have set out to do for our vision, which is to enable 100 million small businesses to succeed online. So I think we are definitely very excited. And as Virud said, there's an obligation and responsibility on our shoulders now to kind of take this capital and invest in the right areas and essentially get closer and closer to the vision. So yes, we're super excited.
Right. Exciting times, of course, for the startup space, and of course, in the midst of the pandemic, a ray of hope as well. Describe to our viewers your journey so far, you know, for your viewers to understand how to use these online platforms. Mr. Virud, could you begin first?
Sure. I think, you know, we've done our business has been a long and hard journey. The company has been around for over 15 years, and our last funding round was 10 years ago. So we've been running a profitable business for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And you know, a lot of companies have to raise money because they have to. I think in our case, we chose to. We've seen a lot of growth after the pandemic because a lot of businesses are going through a digital transformation, right? As you know, even your corner grocery store is taking orders through WhatsApp and so on because people are not coming to the store, they're not coming to the restaurants. So the need for these communication and messaging services like us has grown dramatically. And we see a huge opportunity, a huge market, and that's why with this funding, we intend to invest into product, into sales and marketing, international expansion, and so on. So I think this helps us, this allows us to accelerate our vision and start doing these things much faster.
All right. And Vidit Atre, what about you and your application, of course, taking on global giants as well now?
Yeah, I don't think we think about like competition or who are we up against. When we started off about 6 years ago now, we had a very simple dream. We said the e-commerce in India has been there for about 7-8 years, but if you look around, most small businesses are primarily offline. By the way, even if everyone has done a lot since, in 2021, still small businesses are primarily offline. So there's a lot of work for all of us to do. We did a lot of experiments 5-6 years ago. We eventually landed up on one very large opportunity, which is a lot of women who run fashion boutiques to like get some financial independence as well as a professional identity and struggled with access to capital to get started. We created a platform for them to come start their own business online without any investment. And today we have close to 13 million women entrepreneurs who have served more than 50 million consumers. So we are just getting started. I think there are lots of other kinds of small businesses that we will empower. And in terms of where we'll allocate this money, it's going to be across 3 big buckets. So one is like we are going to spend a lot on like building out our tech and product team. I think we have taken a very large goal of doubling it almost for the next like 12 to 18 months. We will be investing a lot in new initiatives, like starting newer categories. We recently started a business around grocery, and we will invest heavily into that. And third would be just growing awareness. So basically mostly on marketing. How do we build awareness about the opportunity that our platform provides, and how do we get more and more people to come onto our platform?
Right.
So this is how we're going to spend.
I'd like to come in there and also ask you, there's of course growing job security, growing, excitement about leadership roles in startups. So really, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think that's great. Like there's so much money coming into the sector, I still remember when we started up this company 5-6 years ago, a lot of people used to think starting up is risky. What if I join this company? What will happen? This and that. But what has happened in the past few years, and especially this year, with so much capital coming into it, a lot of my friends who just never thought they will enter into startups are now very willing to do so. So I'm sure a lot of new talent will be attracted to the sector, which is great for the ecosystem, for the short term, for the long run. So I think that's a very, very positive sign.
All right. And Mr. Behrooz Straight, of course, what plans next? A lot of reports about, you wanting to list on the stock exchange next. So what plans next for Gupshup?
You're going to get me into trouble by, making a statement before an announcement. But no, I think, look, our company, like I said earlier, we are profitable. And with this funding, we're going to accelerate a lot of growth. We are exploring different options, and we'll see what turns out. And, we'll figure out something soon. We'll come and talk to you first about it. How about that?
All right. So you don't want to comment on it right away, but you have, of course, said that may be soon. What about you, Vidit? Meesho, of course, expansion happening. Like you said, a lot of women entrepreneurs on board. So really, what next are the growth plans?
Yeah, so the kind of stage we are as a company in, I don't think we can say that, hey, we are planning for an IPO in the next few years, right? Our focus is going to be on growth. As I just talked about, all of the money that we're going to spend is going to come in our growth areas, which is building out the team, new initiatives, more awareness in marketing. And I think these are some of the big growth areas for us. And we believe that we have a long road ahead for us just in terms of growth. So I think it could be a few years away before we even decide to say, should we go public and stuff like that.
Right. Lastly, with it, what role did really digitization and, of course, this pandemic play in a higher growth, a higher sort of interest, like you said, in a lot of, women entrepreneurs sitting at home? So what role really did this pandemic have to play?
A big role, by the way. And so I tell people the pandemic last year was the best as well as the worst year for all of our users, right? Because everyone went through a bottom, saw what else could go bad, especially in e-commerce, when for about a quarter, non-essential services were banned to get shipped, etc. We saw a lot of our users essentially lost all their income. They could not sell anything, could not make any money. But as soon as things came back and people realized that offline will still take a lot of time to come back, the amount of efforts, investment that was done by our suppliers to come online, by our women entrepreneurs to figure out how do they acquire newer customers who never bought online before, working even with our shipping partners, delivery partners to scale up the infrastructure. I think a lot of challenges were there that people tackled, and now we have seen there's been a dramatic shift. There's an inflection point in terms of e-commerce adoption for everyone across the country. So I would say all of us hit bottom, and from then on, there have been very, very strong tailwinds, and we see some of those tailwinds globally, right? Globally, all of e-commerce, generally in digitization has grown a lot, and we have seen the benefit here as well.
Right. And lastly, Mr. Behrooz, your message to a lot of young entrepreneurs, a lot of innovators who are now excited about this space, really your message to them. Do they need to tread with caution?
I think obviously the media covers these exciting news, and a lot of entrepreneurs hear these stories. And I think a lot of the work happens when nobody is watching, during the dark and difficult days, when there's a lot of, sometimes you have to execute a pivot, sometimes things are not working out well, and so on. And I think really you just have to keep the faith, keep going, right? Work through, see what's working, what's not working, fail forward, as they say, learn from your mistakes and errors, and so on. And keep at it, right? This entrepreneurial journey is a roller coaster. The highs are high, but the lows are very low. And at that time, no media ever reports what happens when things are not going well, right? So I think I just want to mention to other entrepreneurs, saying, yes, use this as an inspiration, but keep the faith even when things are not going well in your business or when you're sort of building out a business and so on. But certainly, I think this whole set of funding, Meesho, of course, and many other companies that have announced funding this week, I think it's great for the ecosystem, because all of us collectively are going to invest a lot in product, in engineering, in vision, in new innovation, and so on. And I think this cohort of companies are going to benefit the Indian tech ecosystem. I think these are very exciting times.
All right, exciting times. Thank you so much, both of you, for taking out the time and joining us for this interaction. We'll take a quick break and be back with more news and updates.